Right, well, let's talk about someone who is trying to do their work, I would say, doing exactly the job they are paid to do. And that is the Equality and Human Rights Commission chair. This is Baroness Kishworth Faulkner. She, though, is trying to, well, there's an attempt to force her out of her job by a dozen current and former colleagues because they claim that she's basically got an inappropriate stance on trans issues. Let's discuss this with journalist and trans woman herself, Debbie Hayton. Good morning to you, Debbie.
Good morning, Julia.
I can't think of a job that is more suitable for someone with the job title of Chair of the Equality and Human Rights Commission to do than be protecting women's rights. Women are people who, you know, key part of the group that's supposed to have their equality and human rights protected by this organisation. Baroness Faulkner, it is claimed by some that she's a victim of a witch hunt being driven by trans ideology. She has basically backed legal reforms which would guard the rights of... Now, the article here says biological women. We can just use the word woman, can't we? Biological women in single-sex spaces like right to hospital ward that's single-sex, toilets that are single-sex, changing rooms and things like that. And, of course, this would apply to refuges, prisons and everywhere else. That she's backed those legal reforms. She is now facing a dozen or former or current colleagues compiled a whole dossier setting out more than 40 complaints against her, basically because she ain't woke enough. What do you make of it?
Well, she's got the wrong opinions, hasn't she? But in your opening, Julie, when you talked about biological women, it's a sad sign of the times when we have to apply that prefix so that we know where we stand. The fact is, within the Equality and Human Rights Commission, there is a group of activists who have taken charge or think they should be able to take charge. And it does makes me smile in an ironic sort of way. But for a group so seemingly marginalised and oppressed, they seem to have an awful lot of power.
They do seem to have an awful lot of power. We see them directing, you know, Stonewall-inspired directions on what children in primary schools should be taught in sex education and things like children are assigned a sex at birth. No, they're not. Is it a boy or a girl? I mean, you know, we don't say, oh, have you had a girl or have you decided to call your baby, which doesn't have a penis, a girl? I mean, I'm sorry, we all know this is claptrap and nonsense, and yet this is coming out from government departments. In this case, the Department for Education, the trans ideological lobby. And that's what it is. It's not representing trans people. You're a trans woman. You know that you're a man. You're living as a trans woman, and very welcome to do so. And I think always, hopefully, treated with the respect and kindness that we would all expect for ourselves. But that doesn't mean you're requiring everybody to lie about facts or in any way to put girls or women into a situation where they are or feel they are at risk from men.
Well, no, I don't ask anybody to lie about facts. All I ask is that I'm allowed to carry on doing my job as I've always done it. Yeah. And the role of the Equality and Human Rights Commission is to guarantee the rights of all 9 protected characteristics. Yeah. And that, as you said at the beginning, does include women. And Baroness Faulkner's job is to look after all of those protected groups, not just 1 or 2 of them.
Well, indeed. I mean, the thing is, I mean, one of the things she's alleged to have said is she referred to a trans quiz show contestant as her word. This is claimed to be her words. A bloke in lipstick during a meeting. This was regarded as abuse directed at a trans woman. But apparently, you know, this was after the fact that actually there was an all women final of Brain of Britain last year, and Women's Hour described it as a historic occasion. But people pointed out that one of the actual contestants was in fact a trans woman and therefore wasn't a woman. I mean, we're getting into some, I mean, kind of like sort of, you know, Orwellian, you know, speak, aren't we, in terms of trying to have discussions about this, trying not to cause offence, but trying to actually stick to facts. And we got into that muddle where we had the Isla Bryson case, the rapist man who raped 2 women, and Nicola Sturgeon, when she was First Minister of Scotland, insisting on referring to him as a her, and then putting her in a man's prison against her own beliefs and her own policies. I mean, this sort of doublethink is exhausting. But you would have thought that people working at this commission would understand the need to understand that there are different competing rights, aren't there? And that sometimes someone having extra rights does step on the feet of other people's rights, and needing to carefully weigh those rights up together the rights of trans women to be treated as women. Well, yes, except where that does actually trample on women's rights and women's safety. And that's the balancing act this commission is, that's literally their job to work that out, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's not an easy job, but it's a job that they need to do. Yeah. Not to say, well, we're going to follow this ideology, we're going to apply this doublethink, as you referred to it. That's not what we should be expecting from the Equality and Human Rights Commission.
No. I'm just finally want to ask you, a Christian teacher, Joshua Sutcliffe, he has been banned from the profession for, quote, misgendering a pupil. It's a case believed to the first of its kind. He refused to refused to use preferred pronouns of a girl who identified as a boy. That is absolutely chilling, isn't it?
Well, I don't want to comment on that particular case, Julia, but I can talk a little bit about pronouns, about their use. It's the whole idea of preferred pronouns. You know, my preferred pronouns are. I wonder if we should have preferred adjectives. My preferred adjectives are wise and wonderful, Julia, and I require you to use them.
I love it. Debbie Hayton, thank you so much.